Welcome to episode 22 of Out of Bounds, a podcast where I give my social commentary on different topics in today's society. I'm your host, Terry, and today I am talking about mistakes in relationships and specifically the idea of hiding your partner or significant other. And so I'll just start off saying before I really get into it that there's never really a positive reason to hide your significant other, whether it's from family, from friends, or just the public in general. And so whatever reasoning that the person has for doing it is, even if it seems like a good idea to them, is traced back to something that I would argue isn't a healthy behavior in a relationship. So for my own example, I'll be open and forthright as I try to be on here. I was with a girl and ex-girlfriend, and we don't talk anymore, but still I don't do the grudge thing. I have respect for all other people that I had relationships prior with, and it's not to knock them or anything like that. I am calling myself out, and you have to be mature, I would say, to be honest and open about those things, even if it's not the popular thing to say. So, recognizing where I was at the time, I want to say it was 19 or 20, one of those. So I was in a long distance relationship, with a girl, and she would come visit me. So I was in college at the time. She would come visit me, every now and then whenever she could. And I started to realize that I didn't like taking her outside of my room where we stayed pretty much the whole time. And so, I mean, whether it was 3 days, 2 days, whatever, like I would order food for delivery, which wasn't unusual because I did that a lot, but I would order food for delivery and then go down and pick up the food. Like I wouldn't let her go get it. I never took her to the dining center, which was right downstairs, so I could have did that, but instead I would order the food. Of course you had Netflix at that time had just started to become popular. So there was that. And if I had to go do something, I would always, tell her, like, stay in here, keep the door locked, whatever. And, it got to a point where there were times that she came over and we had planned this ahead of time, but I still was just kind of like, I would find an excuse to say that she should go home or that this weekend won't work or that she's not going to have fun. And so I found myself just projecting and trying to get her to justify, it's probably won't be a good weekend. And so that was kind of the second level. And then the third level, I just kind of started lying, and like I would make up stuff, or I wouldn't necessarily make up stuff, but I would create reasons for her not to have to be around. And so I remember one time where I worked third shift, and so I wasn't working that weekend because we worked every other weekend on rotations. And I had like texted one of the people I worked with and was like, can I take your shift? And so I was like, they just called me into work. So I'm, all weekend I'm going to be, at nighttime I'm going to be gone. And so, maybe instead of staying the weekend, we could hang out tonight or today and then you just go home. I'm sorry. And so that was kind of I wouldn't say the straw that broke the camel's back, but that was kind of the point where it kind of came to a head and it became a little more obvious, at least to me, and I'm sure to her maybe at some point. But it wasn't even so much I don't like spending time with you, because I really did enjoy spending time with her, but I really enjoyed what I was doing in college. So I liked going out to house parties. I liked going out to the bars or whatever, or wherever we would do, or kicking it with friends, whatever it was, going to events. I liked it, but I felt when she was around, I couldn't do that. And so that's when it evolved from me just completely hiding her to me just completely kicking her out of the picture so that I could live my life. Now, that's just one side of it. So, and it's already bad. I acknowledge that. I know it's terrible. And so that's just one side of it, but then trying to break down the reasoning why. So for me personally, I was hiding my girlfriend for two reasons. Number one, I felt actually they're two different reasons, but they connect to the same thing. And the central thing is I wanted to keep myself available. And that could be the results of a long distance relationship for me personally. But people can be in close relationships and close distance relationships and feel the same thing. I wanted to stay available. And the two ways that this played out is, number one, I did not think that she fit the attraction level of the other girls around campus. Now, it wasn't so much that, oh, I don't want any guys to see me with her, and cause there are guys that have that issue, like, oh man, if my people see me, they gonna make fun of me, and you know, they have self-esteem issues that way. And it wasn't so much that for me. I think there was definitely a little bit of that, but I think more so to me, it was like, well, if other girls see like that's the type of girl I'm dating, then they might feel like, okay, well, he obviously isn't able to pull girls that's attractive as me or more attractive. So that's kind of the level of girls that like him. And that's kind of how I operated with it. Now, a lot of people will think, yeah, once you're dating, you're just more attractive because you're like the forbidden fruit. And so I don't know, there's maybe some legitimacy to that. I don't know. But for me, it was just, at least the way I calculated it, it was like, okay, you gotta be with a certain type of level of girl to let all the girls underneath that level of girl know that you are a good attraction. And so if you're dating a low level girl, you're not attracting anybody when everybody around you is a higher level attraction. And that's just kind of how I felt. And it wasn't that I was not attracted to her, because I'm not, still to this day, I'm not at all wired that way, to sort of speak. Like, I have a wide range of attraction. I'll put it that way. There are certain things that are more attractive to me, but I have a wide range of attraction. She was very attractive to me. And so, but I knew that society wise and who I was around, they wouldn't see it that way. And so it's similar to a guy that really is attracted to a girl, but she isn't what his friends or his circle considers to be attractive. Similar to that social pressure or that kind of peer pressure. And so that was number one. Number two, I didn't think she was attractive. And then of course, number two, I didn't want people to know I was in a relationship, because yes, she's here for this weekend, but then if if people know I'm in a relationship, then, you know, all the other days she's not there, people are just going to be first thing bring up, well, where's your girlfriend? Where's your girlfriend? Now, those can work in two contradictory ways, because it's like, well, you want people to know you got a girlfriend when she's attractive, and you're also saying you don't want people to know you got a girlfriend, period. And that's that mental balance that people try to justify with themselves when they're going through stuff like that. And it is bad. It's bad. It's sad, but just being honest to where it was, because I didn't want people to know. And that I think for me was very much a product of the long distance relationship, where I just did not feel like I could do what I usually did when she was around. And so as a young 19-year-old, 20-year-old, that is justifiable to me, to my actions, but then also it was just like the way relationships are. It's like, yeah, when your significant other partner's around, you just can't be who you are, which is a very common idea that people have throughout their whole life, but is a very problematic backwards idea. And so it was always kind of like marriage relationships. Yeah, you got to do what she wants to do, or you got to act a certain way that she knows how you act. And you can't actually be yourself. And so for that reason, I didn't really want her around my friends. I didn't want them like bringing up the actual truth of like how I was, and it's not like I was two completely different people. It was just a part of me that I didn't have to display with her because it was completely different context whenever we was together. It would be different if she went to the school, then that'd be completely different. Cause then more than likely we would be in the same context a lot. And so that's just kind of how that played out. But again, as I mentioned before earlier, any of those reasons aren't healthy. They aren't good reasons. I mean, whether obviously you trying to, have people still think that you're single, that's a red flag. But then also if you find yourself not being around your partner's friends, not being around your partner's families, not doing things that they normally do. So if you were talking to them and you know that they go to such and such every week, or they like to hang out here and do this, and you end up dating and there's time between you dating and you never end up going to those things, or if your significant other is always going to those different things and you still haven't went with them, that's a sign. I mean, because like I said, so whether you trying to have people still think you're single, or if you think your partner's not attractive enough to either you or the people you hang around with, or not my case, but there are cases where it's a more possessive thing and it's like, well, I don't want to take the chance of other men taking her away from me, or, flirting with her, or I can't handle that or any of that. And there's some people that are very jealous and possessive. So that might be another reason too. But just the idea of understanding when you're not integrated into your partner's life. And I'm not saying you got to be with each other all the time, of course, especially when you hit this age. Because everybody's working and stuff. But I'm just saying, if you don't do things together, that's fine to have some me time, some, activities that are just, you and your people. And so it doesn't have to be every week, but if you've been together 5 years and you never once went to the game night with the boys or the movie night with the girls or anything, been around them, then that's when it's time to start, wondering. And then also, family as well. Of course, we know meeting the parents is a big thing, but siblings, extended family, and depending on your partner, maybe your partner never around a family. But if your partner lives in the same city as their family and they around their family a lot, got family activities, and you never been there, something you want to think about, and just integrating your partner into your life. And if you feel like you can't do that, or that it's just not the same when they're around, then that's a red flag for yourself to really stop and think, well, is that really something healthy that we can sustain? And wondering that if you are hiding because I knew I was justifying it, but I knew I was doing it. So if you're hiding your partner, then stopping to really dig down and ask why. And I didn't really ask those questions why until later on. And again, it just felt justified to me. But asking those questions, if you're doing it, to really get to the root. And I don't think the root's ever going to be positive, but at least you didn't know, and you can understand that this is something that I can work on and get towards being better. Or this is something that is not going to be fixable, and that is a red flag that maybe this relationship isn't, meant to go forward with that. So, I never really told her personally, and, I would hate for her to find out and hear this, but, I gotta own that up. I gotta own up to that. That's the truth of what was happening. And I would like to believe that I've grown since then, almost 10 years ago, and learning more about myself, learning more about life, and learning more about relationships. So, I just hope that helps. I hope it maybe triggers some reflection, or, whatever the conversation may be. So go down to the comment sections. Let me know if you experienced this, or if you've seen this with other people. It hasn't been done to you. Maybe you did it to other people. Maybe you got different reasons why than I listed, or maybe there are positives to it that I'm not thinking about. Go to the conversation, excuse me. Go to the comment section, start the conversation, share it around, thumbs up, subscribe, and until next episode.